Hello and welcome to EduCBA for today's course on Express SCH, that's for schematics. And so this is a schematics course for designing electronics circuit, for drawing electronics circuit. So how does this happen? Typically, today we live in a world where there are a lot of electronics gadgetry and electronics hardware, which is run by softwares. But what about the hardware itself that gets designed, and how does it happen? So you won't find as many courses when it comes to designing the schematics, electronics schematics. So it is very interesting to see that we have such platforms and softwares on which we design the electronics circuits, and then we prepare the printed circuit boards, and thereafter it goes into manufacturing and then the subsequent supply chain, as we call it. So let's quickly start on that then. We are working on a software named ExpressPCB. Let's see if we find it quickly. No, I need to type in here. Yeah. You can see here ExpressSCH plus schematic. Now this is a software which we'll be using, and which you all will learn as to how to draw the electronics circuit diagram. Not just electronics, for that matter, you can draw even electrical schematic. But the difference here is, out here in this case, we have a very healthy list of components that we can use for designing the electronics schematics. Of course, there are components available here which we can use for devising electrical schematics or the diagrams as well. So as I start with this, let us quickly understand the software. Now, as you can see here, this is an electronic schematic plus version, and that's the website from which you can download it, expresspcb.com. A US-based service provider. These softwares are for free, so you can devise your own circuits and your PCBs, but then you can send it for manufacturing to that concerned company. So with that in mind, let us quickly start with the softwares. But then, of course, prior to starting that, let me also discuss with you all the course content. So out here we have the course which is spread across 4 sessions. Out here we can see here that first we'll be getting introduction to the Express Schematic Plus. It's not a small, it's a capital P. So that's the introduction to Express Schematic Plus. And so what all will be the contents covered? Well, we'll be understanding the Graphical User Interface, the GUI as we call it. So we'll be understanding the entire GUI, the entire page, as to what are these menus and what are the toolbars here and what is the significance. And of course, as I mentioned, you're working with menus and also working with toolbars, and the T has got to be capital here. So this is something that we'll understand, and then subsequently we'll be working with different menus that we have and then the toolbars, and we'll also take a small example or a project on the power supply circuit. So if I were to discuss on the power supply circuit, that is how your circuit will look like. Now what I've done here is I have devised this the circuit in 2 parts. That's part 1 and this is part 2. So whilst we'll be going through the course, I'll complete with the first part first, and then I'll complete with the second part in terms of connections and connectivity and things like that. So let's not wait for too long, and I'll quickly start with working on the software. So right, so that's, yeah, before placing the component, a name must be selected from the list on the top toolbar. Yes. Now what has happened here is this button is activated, for which says that you should be placing a component. But anyway, we don't need it, so I'll click on understanding the graphical user interface. Out here we see that's the file menu. These are the different options that are available under file menu. So it's a new file. If you click new, then it will open a new page sized, or whatever the size of schematic you want to draw, it will show us, it will come up over here. So you can select an A4 size also and click OK. So that is A4 size, that it is opened up. And out here you can see that there are X and Y axis. There are coordinates which we are showing here. The snap is also here. You can also increase or reduce the snap size. Coming back on file, click open, you can save it. The page size is also provided as we saw it here. We are retaining the letter size, and I click OK. And thereafter the print command is here, so you can choose whichever printers you have and take the print of whatever you are designing. Cancel. And you can export the schematic image. When you select on exporting the schematic image, it will ask you the file type. Like it's a BMP file with 100 pixels per inch, 150, 200, 300, or meta file and scalable file. So typically there are not too many file types that you can use for exporting the schematic. Typically it is always supposed to be in BMP or bitmap files. Okay, now but we are not doing it right away, so see out here you can see .bmp file extension. Just cancel it. Page size, yeah, we'll stick to letter only. Yeah, I'm dragging and placing it over here. So that pertains to your file, of course, file menu. And yes, there is also a check schematic for netlist errors. So when I speak of netlist errors, what is that supposed to mean really? Well, that is part of, once we have designed the circuit, then we'll be checking it for netlist as to where all are the issues in the circuit. So that is one thing. And then we have the edit menu where we have undo, cut, copy, paste, delete, select. You can copy the schematic image to clipboard, copy bill of materials to clipboard, find. These are the additional functions that are available. You can group the entire circuit as a one single unit once you have finished and completed your design, finalized your design of the circuit. And that's the view. You can zoom in, zoom out, click on options here. It will tell you if you want to view the schematic here, out here, in what, inches or in millimeters. Okay, so if you change the unit from inches to millimeter, the grid spacing also and the snap to grid also changes accordingly. And then we have colors, so you can choose to have any colors that you want for background, for wires and paths. So these are the default settings that we have. There's no need for us to go and play with them. And that's miscellaneous, right mouse button, and the directory where custom PCB and schematic components are saved. So that's where it is generally saved. And then we have the view, and then we have the zoom in, zoom out functions. Zoom to fit previous view, set origin with mouse, origin with coordinates, shift origin. You can also reset the origin to upper left. And right, let's take a quick short break here because we have covered the 3 menus, and then thereafter we also have the remaining 3 menus to cover.